days like today where I choose the Hero10 over the Pocket 2, and for me I found the best settings to get the best quality footage, so that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So first tip that I want to talk to you about is filming on a really bright day, and sometimes this is completely out of your control, but if you can film on a day when it's really bright, much like today, then you're going to get the best quality footage that you can, because you just need as much light as possible, because these little cameras have tiny sensors and they need as much help as you can give them. So having lots of light is going to give you the best quality that you can in that respect. So my next tip is shooting in 5K instead of shooting in 4K, and this is going to make your footage look a lot better, because the 5K footage just looks so much, it's just got much better quality than the 4K footage. And if you have a PC or a laptop that just doesn't support shooting in 5K, shooting with 5K files, then you can use proxies. I did a video about this a few years ago, so I'll put a link in the description and at the end of the video, but you can also use proxies if you have a lot of trouble. But otherwise, then I guess it's just a case of shooting in 4K, but if you can shoot in 5K, then definitely go for that option. So contrary to what I have said previously in the past about shooting in manual with ND filters, if you don't have the time, or you just can't really use ND filters, and you're not using a gimbal, which is something that I'm not doing at the moment because I don't have a waterproof gimbal, and there isn't one apart from the Hohem iSteady Pro 4, which is splash proof, IPX4 splash proof. But anyway, if you can't use a gimbal, then shooting in auto exposure is going to be your best bet, because hyper smooth stabilization doesn't work in low light and it doesn't work with slower shutter speeds. So if you want to get the best quality in terms of the stabilization, then you definitely want to be shooting with auto exposure so that you've got that fast shutter speed. So remember how I also recently got a 360 camera? I brought my ONE X2, so I've got the ONE RS Twin Edition, which has got the 360 module, and then I've got the ONE X2, and at the moment I've got it on my paddleboard because I thought I'd just do some 360 footage whilst I'm on here. I haven't secured it in any way apart from it just using the tripod, but that's one of the accessories that's really useful to have, and I'm definitely going to figure out a way to actually secure it with the pole on the board, but for now I've just kind of slotted it underneath the straps, and so if it falls in the water, it's actually not that deep, so I'd still be able to retrieve it. But yeah, be cool to see what 360 footage I can get whilst I'm out on the board today. Switch my battery. Also, this is the very first time that my Hero10 has ever overheated on me. So when I was setting up everything by the car and I was pumping the board up, the camera overheated, and it said it was overheating and it switched off. So it is quite hot today, and it was in the direct sunlight for quite a while, so I'm not really surprised. But it didn't take too long to cool down. I think like within 5 minutes I switched it back on and it was absolutely fine, and since I've been out it hasn't done it again. So yeah, that was the very first time that that's happened to me. So I just want to say thanks to Outdoor Master for sending me these sponsored products, the paddleboard, the pump, which blew the board up in like 7 minutes. If I'd used the manual pump, it probably would have taken me about 20 minutes. So thank you so much for sending that, because I didn't fancy spending that long pumping up the board. And then also the dry bag behind me, so that my stuff doesn't get wet if it falls out. they basically sell loads of outdoor stuff, so camping tents, beach tents, underwater sea scooters which look really cool, electric skateboards. So if you're literally looking for anything outdoors, then check them out. I'm about to head into the trees, so I'm just going to turn around whilst I keep talking to you. No, I can't keep talking to you, I'm just going to turn around. So yeah, a lot of outdoorsy things. So if you're looking to buy anything, then you can get a 10 to 15% discount if you use the code Tamara. So check it out and get yourself a discount. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed using that paddleboard. But before I go, I've still got a few more tips for you. So the next one is holding the camera out quite far when you're talking to yourself, because if you hold it quite close, then the background's going to be crisp and sharp and in focus, and you're just going to be a blurry mess. So definitely hold your arm out as far as you can, because the minimum focusing distance is, I don't know, I'll put it on the screen, but yeah, the closer you hold it, the blurrier you're going to be. So the further out you hold it, the crisper and sharper in focus you're going to be. So that's one to remember. And so that also leads me on to sharpness. So I have tried setting the sharpness to low and medium, and the other two settings high and then highest or something. But low I find also makes the footage look quite mushy, whereas medium, I know you can add the sharpness in later on, but I find that even doing that doesn't really work. So setting it to medium in the camera, I feel like that gives the best looking footage. So again, this is just something that I've tested and found for myself. So you might think differently, you might do things differently, but for me, I find setting the sharpness to medium in the camera to be the best. So the next thing is video performance modes, and this was actually introduced in a firmware update. I can't remember which firmware update it was, but the important thing about it is the fact that you can set your video performance based on your usage. So the one that I use is the max video performance, and that's literally going to give you the best, highest quality video footage based on your frame rate and whether you're using slow motion and that kind of thing. The next one is extended battery. So this is going to limit the resolution that you can use for the HERO10, so it will essentially extend the battery life. So that's kind of the trade-off between these different ones. The next one is tripod and stationary video. So this one is gonna try to cool the camera as much as possible while switching off things like stabilization and GPS, because if you're stationary on a tripod, then you're not going to need those features. So that's just a really good way of trying to stop the camera from overheating. So depending on what you're shooting and where you're shooting, you're going to want to set those up. But for me, because I'm using it out and about, I tend to have max video performance set on. And then finally, this one is quite subjective because it's all to do with color correcting and color grading. So everyone has a different opinion and view on this, but I personally feel like setting the color profile to flat and then color correcting it looks better than the natural and the vibrant color profiles. But obviously not everyone can be bothered to color correct or color grade footage, so I can totally appreciate that. So in that instance, I feel like natural looks better because it doesn't oversaturate the footage like the vibrant color profile does. And in some situations you might think the vibrant looks good, and it does, but for the majority of the time I feel like using flat and color correcting it and color grading it is much better than the other two. But like I said, if you can't be bothered, then natural I feel is better, but again, also subjective. So I hope those tips have been useful to you. I've enjoyed being out on my board and doing a different kind of video, and thanks again to Outdoor Master for sending me those products. If you are interested in any of their products and the paddleboard that I was using or anything like that, then check out the links in the description and you can get 10 to 15% discount using the code Tamara. Thanks again for watching, and catch you guys on the next video.